Carla Machado. Am I right? Okay, I hope I pronounced it rightly. She's the president of Brazilian National Association of Prenatal Education, a system analyst, psychotherapist, facilitator of Women's Circle, and founder of in 2010. She is also Vice President, World Organization of the Associations for Prenatal Education. The great power nature gives to all the pregnant woman guides her path and fuels her enthusiasm to disseminate and teach about the importance of prenatal life. Second speaker is Laura Uplinger. She is from Brazil. She is National Association for Prenatal Education's Vice President and World Organization for the Association of Prenatal Education, main representative at the United Nations Economic and Social Council. For the last 40 years, she is a proponent and educator in the field of prenatal and perinatal conscious presentations. She addresses at public at large, as well as teenagers, university students, pregnant couples, and birth professionals in Brazil. The topic is spreading prenatal education in Brazil. So all the way from Brazil people are here, so we welcome you all, ma'am. Are you all set? With a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Yes, and good evening.
Good evening. Almost.
Thank you for the introduction. It is an honor for us to be here with you this evening. Thank you, Gajanan, Mr. Kelkar. What a privilege to be in India, speaking about our work that is so much based on your ancient traditions also.
It was in 2009 that I received a gift from Gajanan, the book from here, and it has been 10 years since then. So it's a dream come true to be here today. Thank you.
Yes. Well, we're here this evening to tell you about the work of our organization, which is ANEP, the National Association for Prenatal Education in Brazil. The title of our presentation was Spreading Prenatal Education as a Daily Task in Brazil, and an honor to be at our first international conference on prenatal development. Next.
Yeah, we founded ANEP Brazil in 2010, and there was a big conference in Brasilia, that's our capital. And at that time, 200 members from there. Today, 200 members ANEP Brazil has acquired. And we are a member, ANEP in Brazil is a member of OMAEP, that is an international association for all the ANEPs of the world. There's more than 22 countries nowadays with an ANEP.
Next. So this is the logo of OMAEP, and Carla and I have the honor to be their representatives at the ECOSOC, at the United Nations. So it sounds great, doesn't it? We go to these meetings like the CSW, it's a commission on the status of women, and we see women from all over the world with saris, with gorgeous African dresses and turbans and jewelries.
More than 8,000 women.
But you know what? They could not care less about pregnancy and babies. You see, it's been done. What do women want? They want independence, they want to work, they want equality with men, they want so many important things for society.
They care, they don't want to be with their babies.
Yeah, daycare centers are top in their list, like abandonment of a baby day by day. So it's so strange. We were 4 or 5 organizations saying, hey, motherhood counts for the future of humanity. And they would listen to us politely.
It seems that progress is linked to women be equal to men, you know, not respecting the differences. So when we talk about the importance of motherhood, we are like weird for them.
Yeah. So you see all these flags, and we talked, and we had moments where we had conferences, but we realized we're not even one drop in an ocean. So the relevance of this conference here for the world is essential. There's something that happens during pregnancy that will not happen later on. Next. So,
Yeah, our challenges. Brazil is a huge country. It's almost 3 times the size of India, 17 times the size of France. And our medicine is based on a for-profit interventionist model. So the doctors earn more money when they do more C-sections because it's faster, and they can fulfill their agendas at their consultories.
yes, and when women go to the doctor for prenatal, antenatal care, their mind is practically never taken into consideration. And also, they have barely time to feel pregnant. Daily life is there for them. Carla Machado is a therapist in Brazil, and sometimes she has to tell some pregnant women, hello, you're pregnant, this is the 8th month.
Yes, they say pregnancy is not a disease, and this phrase is an excuse of not feeling pregnant at all. It's just like normal state, and you can do all the things the others do. Why not?
Yes, so all this extraordinary moment cosmic intelligence has provided for the education of a baby is kind of lost in daily tasks to fulfill the needs of a status quo that demands more and more and more and brings us into materialism. So this is so strange. We seem to obey that kind of status quo. And yes, we objectify life. Things are just things. There's no life. And we lose moments of wonder. And of course, there is a cultural reluctance to understand the relevance of prenatal life. And this is a question we want to leave with you. Why is it so difficult to bring the obvious to people? Is it because they were all born? Is it because all of them had a prenatal existence and perhaps it wasn't that easy or happy? Was it too stressful for them? Why can't doctors and parents and family around a pregnant woman be in wonder of what is happening? Does it remind them of their own time in the womb? This is a question.
There's another cultural challenge that is that the women's body should be for their husbands and should not be damaged by delivery, normal delivery. So in order to conserve the body in perfect conditions, they cut into C-sections. It's like not ending the fun of the husband. The idea is there.
This is complicated. We have machismo mixed with feminism. But here are our main activities in Brazil. We have a prenatal education training course that goes around for a year and a half. We have a traveling seminar, Carla and myself, and she leads a workshop from mother to daughter for girls. Tell about it.
Yeah. It's about, we're going to talk more about that before, but it's a kind of rite of passage from the mother to the adolescent, her daughter, just to begin to show her the importance of her body, to taking care of her body as her own, not allowing doctors to say what's happening to her.
One other activity is that we talk in high school classrooms and childbirth events, of course, and we also contribute chapters or articles to childbirth publications, and we spread this little booklet. These 10 golden rules were written by a Greek judge, and in Greece since 2008, this booklet is given to every couple who gets married together with their marriage certificate. And it's filled with tenderness, exclamation points. It's very sweet, but every paragraph is really based on pre and perinatal psychology. Next. Okay, here's us again, Carla, at an important international conference in Brasilia. This is a shop at New York, near the UN, and this is our little shop where we sell the golden rules during our training course. But the text, we have some samples here, but the text is at the in English at the OMAEP website, which is omaep.com. So it's easy to reach.
Next. So we developed a program of 14 models over 18 months to deal with that challenges we mentioned before. So it's open for general public, but mainly birth professionals come, but also architects, lawyers, they come to know more about themselves, and they say that changes their lives because everybody is born. Even those people who are not getting pregnant, they can resignificate their lives when taking care, when paying attention of what happened to them. So we go through the whole process.
And the modules are interactive, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary. There's a very loose atmosphere. There's about 25, 30 students, and it's about who we are. And all of them, participants, will be able to spread the news about the importance of prenatal life.
And we have already 3 classes graduated, and the 4th class will begin now in February. And we want to share the contents with you. Yeah, this is the first class in São Paulo.
Next.
The second class in Rio. And the third in São Paulo again. And the next will begin in February. So we want to share the whole program with you. So maybe we can talk privately after if you want to know more about our program, because we have been working in this program for some years.
So you remember at school, I don't know how it happens in India, but in America and in Brazil, there is a part in high school where we study sexual education. And usually it's destined to avoid an unwanted pregnancy and to avoid sexually transmitted diseases, which is great. But it's only half of the equation. What about preparing for one day to be a mother or a father? What about knowing how we were conceived? And I mean, there's so much to know when we're teenagers. And that's what we try to bring forth for the class.
We talk about the importance of the natural, paying attention to your body, to your cycles naturally, without intervention of medicine, like because when you have problems on your cycle, you can connect with the moon, you can connect with your ancestors' feminine side, so you can reconnect to the femininehood instead of being easy for the doctors to convince you of everything they want. So it's the beginning of being aware of your own body, of your own femininehood.
And your own belonging to the universe. Then, of course, you can see here the rites of passage. Blood is a soul's vehicle. And all the receptivity and fertility. We always have the spiritual dimension with us. Or even if we go into catecholamines and endorphins, also the very spiritual dimension is always mentioned.
And of course, the boys are not forgotten. We have another rite of passage from fathers to boys, and it's run by a male friend that we have in Brazil, and it's very beautiful too. They pass a whole weekend together, fathers and boys constructing something together. So their bonds get more strong, and they get more like the manhood comes, and how to be brave and things like that.
Yeah. Addressing all the symbolic questions and quests, including with fairy tales, Iron John for the boys, Vasalisa for the girls. Next. And comes then the second module, towards conscious conception. I remember Jean-Pierre Rollier, a neonatologist from France, explaining in a very good article in Lancet journal that when a woman has conceived the child in love, in awe, in pleasure, already at the very first divisions, the membrane of each of the very first cells has more receptors to growth factor. So in the womb, we want growth. So already the quality of a conception can show you the possibility for more prematurity or at term pregnancy. And this is important. This module is one of the most important ones. And of course, we have the nutrition, the magnitude of parental roles. E fala do convite.
Yeah, and we normally couples spend a lot of time preparing their marriage, and they don't pay attention in the conception moment. In India, I think it's more spread, but in Brazil, it's like a taboo when you talk about conception, conscious conception, and we teach them to formalize the invitation, why they want a baby, why they want a child, for what purpose, and this connects them. This will connect them to the soul of the new baby who is coming. So
Carla was mentioning it's a little bit of a taboo. If I ask someone, when is your birthday? Oh, that date, this, I knew some person of the same date. You say, when were you conceived? What's the date? What? My parents making love? No, I mean, like I said, well, this is so embarrassing. What a question. But isn't it in the Vedas that conception is the most important moment of our life? So let's talk about it.
Yeah. So this model is really a taboo for people in Brazil, especially between the professionals of birth. When you talk about the importance of conscious conception, it's like, oh my God, it's totally new for me.
Next. Then comes our third module, an extraordinary one because it's embryogenesis and joy. We speak so much and we study so well stress and all its evils. What about joy? It hasn't been studied as much, but we know already if we stay away from stress, what do we find? We find joy. And that joy, at every step of the way, will be very fruitful for the development of the baby.
Yeah, and we do workshops with clay and painting during all the models. So in this model, we paint and we model the fetus in clay. So it's very beautiful. When they finish, they can feel in themselves all the stages of their own development. And it's very strong. Sometimes people get very moved.
Yeah. Next. Then comes our fourth module, the very pregnancy, the conscious pregnancy. And yes, what a woman eats will go to her baby, but what she imagines also, her inner life, is a dimension that will be nourishing the baby. So how she sees life, how she sees herself, how she considers the universe is food for the baby. The best moment to think about the most lofty subjects on earth.
And in Brazil, we have prenatal rules, prenatal care rules, all the measurements you have to do, all the exams, all the rates you have to achieve.
All the tests.
And it can be very stressful, just the prenatal, the normal prenatal. So we talk about how can we exit this idea of being had to fulfill, to fed.
To assemble?
Yeah, into a rate. You know, you are an individual being. You have your own development. So connect with the joy and with the health of your own spirit. So it's a totally different way of following your pregnancy, of connecting with your baby. Begin the connection, the bond between the mom and the baby in this phase, or even before, not waiting for the birth to occur and then to connect with the baby. That will be too late for them.
But then there is a workshop next of a star doll.
We made this with wool and cotton, and it's very easy to do. It's a 5-point star. Our friend was talking about the 5 principles of the elements of the. So we do that without knowing the Vedas.
Yes. Yes. Okay, next comes our fifth module, birth as an initiation portal. If our conception stayed with us and will stay forever, birth is very dramatic and is our model for every time in life we will go through a change. Every time something will have to be changed. It can be a school, it can be a boyfriend, it can be a town, it can be an apartment. Every change that brings you, oops, in the solar plexus will report us to our birth. And unfortunately, very few births are harmonious, and people fear change so much. Is it because of the way they were born? Was it lots of fear around there? So, this is our fifth module. Get next.
This is a very hard one because we talk about how humanity has been dealing with birth and babies since the beginning of history.
Are you aware of this new branch of history that was born in the 20th century? It's a branch of history that studies exclusively children until they're about 10 years old. And we can include prenatal. We had the privilege at APA to receive Lloyd DeMose, the founder of this psychohistory. And then Robin Grill, who is one of his book, Parenting for a Peaceful World, decodifies Lloyd DeMose's theories, but it's amazing. You know, the most important type of parenting throughout our history has been infanticide. So it complicates.
In this model, we had Ana Verbal and Eleonor with us in Brazil.
They're here with
They're
us.
here with us.
Okay. Then the seventh one, what happens between death and rebirth? This is a whole spiritual one. We have from Buddhism to Taoism to Hinduism and also anthroposophy. Okay. The eighth one is a friend of ours from Canada, an osteopath. The pregnant couple in its own environment. Within us, we each have several polarities. It's as if I had to be married with myself before meeting a companion who will also have his feminine wedded to his masculine. So, woof, it's an extraordinary philosophical, psychological module. Next, the ninth.
This is about the postpartum and how to care the mother, because the mother after the birth, she can be very open, her body and her spirit is very open, so we help her to embrace herself and the baby in a shell, like protecting, and all the society should be around protecting them, allowing them to have this period the most protected as possible.
And enjoying harmony. Next. Oh, comes breastfeeding, the mother's milk's magic. And breastfeeding is a moment where so much that didn't go so right from conception to birth could be now reshaped or addressed. And so often we resort to bottle feeding a child or breastfeeding without much consciousness, having the Facebook being there. So this is a beautiful module where experts come and talk about the beautiful dimensions of breastfeeding for the mother and for the baby, for the future adolescent. And every module, we consider the baby as a future adult. Because babies are cute, they're adorable. But that's not what's interesting. They won't last so long. They turn into children, and the adult that is coming out of these beings in the womb and newborn is what interests us. Constantly, how psychologically an adult is impacted by all these stages of life. Next.
This is very beautiful. It's about the first 3 years of life, how the child will eat, sleep, play, all the rhythms, the importance of respecting the rhythms, and how the bond between the adult and the child. We talk a little bit about this education, the first years of education.
Yes, next. We're going because we have time here. And then growing up and learning with joy. Remember that joy during pregnancy that had to be present at conception and before? Then we can celebrate with the child and the first 7 years. And the final module, the students present their work.
Yeah, that's the best part because they show what they have learned. They prepare like a thesis, a small thesis.
A life project sometimes.
Yeah. And they present to us and we can help them.
And now this is our seminar I was telling you about. It's a 1.5-day event. It's kind of a trailer of the training course and happened already in more than 10 cities. Next, like in Belo Horizonte, like in Brasilia. Here, look what happened. We were sitting in front of a Sufi, a dervish. There was Carla and myself. Next, other towns like Manaus and Rio. Next. And also in Campo Grande, very different regions of Brazil.
They are very far from each other.
Oh, yeah. Campo Grande and Maceió, they're opposite. And also there are some events like the Week of the Baby. It's in the state of São Paulo, in an island. So there we were being celebrated with flowers because they talk about the first childhood and then the very first childhood, which is prenatal. That's how they call it. And we were addressing here in the bottom right, a school, a high school. And it was so noisy. A public high school, very poor, and they somehow were able to listen. That was a little miracle that day. And yes, next. International Childbirth Conference is next. Sometimes in a town, I'm invited to speak about the importance of prenatal life from the viewpoint of the baby. Next. And nurses, obstetrical nurses and neonatal nurses organized recently in last September a conference, and they asked us, but I was the only one who could go, the opening conference of their whole meeting. There were only nurses. It had never happened. So finally somebody's thinking about the baby. Next. And in a big documentary that stayed a long time in the normal cinemas, I was speaking about the very first moments of life. This is a picture of me in the movie. And many people know me just because of not even 2 minutes. And we became kind of famous. Yeah. Next. Oh, internet television. Gorgeous interviews. Online also. Yes, next. And then a world conference, the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development. That was in Rio in 2012. You see here Michelle Audin. Her name?
Madeleine Valle from Sweden.
And Julie Gerland from France, and Carla.
From Brazil.
Yeah, so prenatal development was present as a part of a sustainable United Nations conference, Sustainable World, yes. Oh, and then, you know this woman here in bottom left, Kirsten Uvnas Moberg. She's the woman from Karolinska Institute in Sweden who is the first one who decided to study for real oxytocin and everything it means. And here she's discovering for the first time with Carla in Ipanema, coconut water. This is a dear friend, Marcy Axnes, who also came to our training course, and she's an international expert. Parenting for Peace is her book, and there I am translating her. Next. We invite all of you in 2020, the weekend of May 1st, Pregnancy and Civilization is the first international conference of ANEP Brazil. More next.
And we invite all of you to come to Brazil in 2020.
Namaste.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.